Hello, and welcome to R&R Reviews Unscripted. You're here again with the Rogers Brothers. And today we're going to give our thoughts and reasonings behind our rating scale and why we gave this particular review this particular rating. Our topic is the movie Serenity, starring Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway.
Alert! If you have not seen the movie Serenity, please stop listening now. So, as you've seen on our Facebook page, R&R Reviews, we gave the movie Serenity a 4.6 score out of 10 points.
So overall, we're saying that this movie is watchable. We consider a 4 to be watchable, passable in a sense. We gave this movie, this is the lowest scoring that we have given any rating.
And I want to say up front, I feel that this movie had a lot of potential to be a great movie, and there's just one key thing that made this movie fall flat on its face.
Yes, and that's going to be the plot and the storyline itself, which also ties in with the screenplay, because obviously the screenplay is how the movie is laid out.
So we have a star-studded cast that you can't go wrong with. We have a halfway decent score. I wouldn't say that this score is mediocre by any means. I would say it's a little bit above average. It's a good score.
And then at the same time, I think that the special effects are slightly, average or more. I mean, we have some great cinematography as far as the picture shots of the ocean and different things. You get a very secluded feel from the scene and the setting, being on Plymouth Island there, completely isolated from the rest of the world. It's a very small island, seems like everyone knows each other. So you get this kind of homey feeling, this tight-knit group kind of feeling. It is nice. It gives it a good feel. So we come into this story. Matthew McConaughey is out fishing. He's chasing a giant tuna that's basically been on the run from him for some time now. He spends his days taking tourists out to deep sea fish to make money. When we come into the story, Matthew McConaughey's just living his life, doing his thing, obsessive with this fish, nearly to a point where it seems like he might be kind of going crazy.
Right. His character the whole movie seems like he's on the very thin border between psychopath and, a normal human being.
Yeah, and along the way you kind of start to get these different aspects of like that he doesn't fully understand how he's there or where he's at, that kind of context. It's just he wants to be isolated to himself. The whole point of being there is to be away, but he's had this past life that went on, that even his name was different, so he had a whole different identity that he assumed before.
And throughout the movie, the first half of the movie, you're kind of trying to figure out what's going on in the past to get us to this point of being obsessed with the fish. We do notice a few eerie things going on with the characters, like some visions and how he is connected to this other human being, and how is that possible. Things you wouldn't really think you would see in just what seems to be a non-fiction style movie.
In steps Anne Hathaway, and she is Matthew McConaughey's character. His name is Baker Dill. She's his ex-wife, and she basically tells him that she needs him to kill her husband because he's abusive. She can't leave him because he says he'll kill her, and they have a son together. Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway do that. He is now, the stepfather is now fathering. So it puts Matthew McConaughey in basically kind of a moral crisis.
And he's offered $10 million to do this act, and we know he needs the money very badly.
Yeah, so the story just continues to progress, and you're wondering what's going to happen, and he kind of seems like he's going crazy. And then we get about halfway through the movie, and it happens.
So, and up to this point, I think we've laid out a very good suspenseful storyline. I'm ready to see what's going to happen just based off of what I've seen in the movie.
And then the twist presents itself, and he meets up with who is called the rule maker, the rule keeper. His name is Reed Miller, his character's name is, who tells him that he's in a video game.
That the whole world surrounding him is entirely virtual, and that they are all virtual characters inside this video game. We find out that this virtual world was created by a boy who lives in a home where his stepfather beats his mother, and he can hear them, in the other room, hear his stepfather beating and screaming and cussing at his mother. And so this boy has created this video game to escape from the real world. And Matthew McConaughey's character is based off his real life father, who died over in Iraq in the service. Apparently him and his father used to go fishing together, hence the point of the video game being to catch a fish. So every character and thing in this virtual world represents something in the real world for the boy.
The fish's name is Justice, which is what the boy once served to his stepfather for beating his mom all the time, which is why in the game Anne Hathaway wants Matthew McConaughey's character to kill her husband for being abused. So it's all relative to what's happening in real life. It's just a mere image of it.
Because, as we said, everything represents something in real life. So Anne Hathaway represents the boy's mother. Jason Clarke represents his stepfather. Like we said, Matthew McConaughey represents his real father. So it's all a virtual world that's just been projected from this boy.
Yes, so in the end, the little boy kills the stepfather, which I think was a little dark, and he ends up going to some sort of, I guess, they take him in handcuffs and arrest him, and then the mom claims at the end, they're watching a news report, and the mom claims that the child was just self-defending her, that she was being beaten, and they lived in an abusive home, and basically admits to it. And so I imagine that he will at some point, get out for that and get it.
Right. If anything, he'll probably sent to a mental institution.
Mm-hmm.
But this big twist makes the movie fall dead in the water. At this point, any emotional feeling that you have for these in-game characters, you lose because they're all fake.
Yes.
So you have no longer a real attachment to any of them. Had this big reveal been saved to the very end of the movie, maybe it would have, been a little more interesting, because then you at least would have still been emotionally involved for the second half of the movie.
Yes, I agree. And maybe even if they had done it differently and made this not such a plot twist, but a mere explanation in the beginning, that we could have still built off of the movie and been interested in the characters within it.
Right, this plot twist feels like nothing more than a desperate grasp to be extraordinary, and it comes off as so desperate that it doesn't give you the feeling that the movie is extraordinary.
We all can't be M. Night Shyamalan's and David Fincher.
I believe it's pronounced M. Night Shyamalan.
So in the end, the plot and story kills this movie. The dialogue also, I find, maybe it's because it is a video game within the movie, but the dialogue was so bare and just empty. It lacked any true depth to make it worth anything, and I think that was part of the issue with growing attached to what is the storyline.
Right, it ends up leaving you with this sense of feeling unresolved and a little bit stressed out from each scene.
So our overall rating was a 4.6 for the movie Serenity. I would say that this may be worth a rent later on in life if you have not much to do, but they truly missed the mark with this plot point, and I think that the popularity of the movie speaks for itself. Very under the radar, very low box office pulls. So this movie kind of says all that it needs to say. So that's all the time that we have for today. Thank you again for tuning in to R&R Reviews Unscripted. As always, check out our Facebook page and our YouTube page, R&R Reviews.
If you have any suggestions for movies you'd like us to review, send us an email at rogerscinemahood@gmail.com.
As always, you're here with the Rogers Boys. We thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.